Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's guest is Shanne Carvalho, and he is a broker associate at eXp Realty. Shanne, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Good to see you. It's been a minute.
Man, it's been a while, and excited to finally get you on the show. We've been talking about this for a while, and also we're going to talk about the book that we're launching together. That's going to be coming out, I think, later this month, off the top of my head. And I was talking to the editor actually yesterday, and I think we're really close to this launch. But just to get us started, Shanne, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Shanne, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's what we do. Shanne, what mission matters to you?
I've always been a person of service, and that's just who I am. And
Yeah.
I think that, as much as I've done really well for myself, it's come from, always putting others first. And, my mission has always been to, not only serve my clients in business and, build those relationships and do what I do, but I also really love to give back to the community and participate in a lot of community events.
Yeah.
And, whatever assets or resources I have that I can provide, there's certain charities that I really love to support. And so, I just, since I was young, that's been my thing. I'm of service.
Yeah. It's awesome. And that's what I know you for, Shanne, is being of service and a connector of sorts and glue for many organizations. I'm interested. So where did you first get into this concept of entrepreneurship, or when did that start? Was it when you were a kid, or like when did you become an entrepreneur?
Such a funny story, man. Being in sports and being super athletic when I was young, I really envisioned being some kind of a sports medicine doctor. And
Yeah.
so I didn't go straight to university from high school. I wanted to go to junior college to kind of be sure and get my, lower division done. So I went to a really good community college that we have here locally, Cabrillo. And I played on the football team. I played in golf. And I also became part of like the honor society and some other clubs. Like I was an overachiever. I had 3 part-time jobs. I was really fired up. I'm like, I'm going to just make life happen. I'm going to get after it. And I'm going to do this pre-med, lower division. So I was a bio major. Long story short, chemistry, organic chemistry, it just wasn't working. I was just like, ugh.
That's the one that gets people. That's where like organic chemistry. If this is something you want to do or not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and physiology and all this other stuff. I was just like wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I had to get through this stuff to get to that. And I lost interest and I moved to becoming a business major. But ironically, so I transferred to San Jose State to their business school. So when I moved up to the Bay Area, I was still working at Wells Fargo Bank. And honestly, I helped the merchants, I helped the business owners, and I was always in the merchant windows and serving them. And this one real estate broker, one day he's just like, and I'll try to keep this short because I know we're limited on time, but
Go for it.
This broker, I'd see him all the time. His office was down the street. He's a real estate broker, but I mean, I'm like 21, 22 years old. I don't know much about, all that. But anyway, long story short, he's like, hey man, you're always trying to sell me something. Like when I come in here, because we'd have competitions like who sells the most credit cards today or this or that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a gamer when it comes to that. Like I love competition.
Yeah.
I love games, even like board games, just games with friends, whatever. I love competing. I've always been into games, right? So it's like, oh, contest, I'm in. And so he told me, he's like, hey, they must not pay you a lot. Like, why don't you come and talk to me? I feel like you might be good at real estate. And so anyway, I met with this guy after work one day and he got me started on getting the principles of real estate. And I mean, shoot, it took me a couple of years because I was still in school and I transferred to another job, and it took me a couple of years to get my license. But yeah, he put me on my journey to getting my real estate license. And then once I got a taste of real estate and kind of got on that path, my dad had been a general contractor and he was retiring, and I grew up building. And so it's like when these pieces came together, I just had this vision from a young age that someday it's going to be all of it. It's going to be the building, the financing, the selling. And by chance, that's the journey I took. I ended up in lending right out of college and then moved into sales and also have my general contractor's license. So it's weird that vision from, almost 30 years ago came to fruition,
Yeah.
which is, it's
I
interesting.
completely agree with you. Like all these little pieces of life and some of these experiences, some of these jobs that you hold when you're younger or otherwise, and you're like, how is this going to help me down the line? Like, I don't
Right.
know, and obviously when we're in our early 20s, we're not thinking about it that way. Like, oh, well, this is going to help me down the line. No, we're still, we're focused on what we're doing. But I want to stay in those early years a little bit longer. Like what kept you going, like whether it was from switching from pre-med to business or switching from one job to another, and not necessarily, especially at that age, like knowing what's next, like what kept you going, like what kept you moving forward?
This is funny because you're gonna laugh. It's not even that much money now, but I wanted to make $100,000 a year.
That's a lot of money. That's more than most people in this country and many
Well,
worldwide. That's money, man. Don't say that.
but I'm saying because of inflation, how things changed. I'm saying
Yeah,
this was a big number.
that is a big number
That was
back
a big
then.
number when you're 21 years old in the early 1990s.
Yeah, yeah,
That's, I guess, no disrespect to 100K now. I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
when you look at
for
the
sure.
value of that now, right? Like that's like somebody saying I want to make $1 million now. That's
Yeah.
what it was like in the early 90s. But another story, one of my best friend, his brother-in-law, he was Portuguese background like myself, and
Mhm.
he worked for Bank of America. He drove a BMW. He had the coolest shades. He was doing real estate loans for Bank of
Yeah.
America, and he was just the coolest guy. And I was like, I want to be like that guy. It's like
Yeah.
it was weird. It's like I idolized his brother-in-law, and this was at a young age,
Yeah.
and so that stuck with me when I went up to San Jose State. That stuck with me that I want to make 100K, and
Yeah.
I learned that I was a union dishwasher at a golf club because I played on the golf team and we get free golf privileges. But I
Yeah.
was making $6.60 an hour,
Mm.
and I knew that
So you were
660
doing
an
the
hour,
math on how many hours you were gonna have to work, baby, and it was gonna be hard to make that 100 grand.
100K was not coming washing dishes. So I just had to, I started like working backwards, right? It's like trying
Mhm.
to figure out like, well, what do I got to do? Like where, how can
Mhm.
I get there? So the early motivator was making that big dollar amount. That was what drove me back then. I mean, things have changed,
Mm.
but back then that's what kicked it off.
And so it was, I like that you said that plan side of things. So you saw what you were currently doing wasn't necessarily going to get you to your goal. You worked it backwards. And so what was next? Like as you're like, okay, this isn't exactly going to work, but you also still worked, right? Like so you were working, you were still operating in your sphere of influence and you were still productive. You weren't just sitting around thinking about it. You were doing
Right.
stuff. Like what was next in terms of like, okay, maybe this could be the next thing. Like what did that look like?
This is funny, man. So I was, at the bank. I think I was making $12, $13 an hour, working
Yeah.
part-time at the bank while I was in school. Well, one of my cousins from the Central Valley worked for a mattress company called Sleep Train. Sleep Train back then was an up and coming company based
Man, I'm getting
in
all
Seattle.
the good stories. Tell me more. This is
You're pulling
greatness.
you're pulling stuff that I haven't even thought about. But no, I just, my cousin's like, hey, we have this company going and we want to open up California, but right now,
Yeah.
we need some help up in the Washington market. We'll put you through some training. We'll send you up to Seattle for, a couple of months, or I don't remember how long the period was, to help
Sure.
with some sales and stuff. So man, I saw like commission, the bonuses and the percentage, and I saw what managers are making. I was
You're
like,
like, this could get me to my 100K.
this is working. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up in Seattle and I stayed up there because I liked it so much. And,
Hmm.
and actually we'll touch back on that in a minute, because that's what launched me into the entrepreneurship of my career. That's what took me into
Hmm.
lending, was this stepping stone ended up putting me where I needed to be.
Wow.
Who would have ever known this would be the connector to get me into where I'm at today?
And you wouldn't have thought, right? Mattresses, right?
So I quickly like was up to, I mean, I've always been a great salesperson, good with
Yeah.
people. I was one of the top 3 salespeople in the West Coast, and I was actually in the top 5 in the whole company in production. And so
Mhm.
I'm saying that not as a brag, but this is going to be important for the next part of the story. But anyway, I liked it up there. I also like to be challenged.
Mm.
I was promoted to an assistant manager pretty quickly, and then this store opened up that they needed a manager, but it was a store that had gone to crap. The numbers were horrible.
Yeah.
Employees were horrible. They were down to just one employee, and she was terrible. And so this was my first stab at entrepreneurship at the age of like 22, maybe.
Yeah.
21.
And now you're responsible for this store. They gave you this broken leg, zero.
No, you're gonna love this. Not only broken, but I fired the one employee when I got there, and they sent me a new trainee, Dwayne. I love this guy. I lost touch with him. I thought about him the other day. I wish I still had contact with him, but Dwayne was Mr. Personality. He was like 6'5", this tall, skinny guy, big personality. And I'm like, Dwayne, we got our work cut out for us, bro. Like, but I'll tell you what.
Dwayne, I'm guessing, was older than you, right?
No.
He was younger than you. Okay.
My employees ended up being older than me. Dwayne was, I think, right about my age. But then
got it. Yeah. So you and Dwayne are on a mission.
Yeah. So I don't remember how many months it took, but we were top 3 in the market out of like 15 stores, like pretty quickly. Built a staff, recruited some agents from other stores, and had some new agents come in. My staff was much older. And in fact, one of my employees, he looked just like George Costanza. I'll never forget him. Oh my God. The guy was laughs. And then there was another store down the way where, those are fun times. But anyway, I guess just to kind of keep us on track, because I could go on forever. It essentially, this company ended up shutting down the Washington market and the Oregon market. They consolidated just staying in California, and they expanded California. And so I came back to California, but because I was in the top 5, I still had the dream of doing real estate and everything else. And one of my buddies, who was my roommate at the time, he called me in California. He's like, hey, I just signed, I just got on with this company and they want to interview you. They asked me who the top 5 salespeople were at our company, because obviously they shut down the Washington market, and, they feel like this is something that's relatable to what we're doing here. So I came up and I got hired by this mortgage company, national mortgage company. And we were in a call center where they would make outbound calls and people would call in for loans. And that's how I started the whole mortgage, and then, the journey to mortgage real estate. And, that's how it all started.
I'm guessing, going alongside of your theme, there's competition. It's a competitive environment, and you're putting up numbers. Am I off on this when you get to mortgages?
Oh, yeah.
A theme here, man. I'm noticing a theme.
Yeah, no, the 100K came quickly. And when your rent, you have a roommate and your rent's like $1,500 a month and your half is like $750 and your car payment's like $200. Like, it's like when we
the good old days, man. You better stop.
I'm just saying, like, at that point, like, that was living the good life. I mean, I was enjoying, I wanted more. I wanted to build more. I wanted to invest. I started looking to buy real estate. Like, it was just the beginning of the journey, but it quickly jumped. And then from there, when I came down to California, because I got recruited by a company here back home, because this is home, even though I loved it up there. I was only up there for 3 years. I came back here. I got recruited by a local company here, and it just exploded. I was number 1 at this company here for 5 years before I crossed over to real estate. But So get into the real estate portion now. So now you have the skill of marketing, sales at this point in your career. You obviously are smart. You have management experience. You ran a store. You have, corporate experience. You're working within a network of other stores. Now you have real estate experience from the mortgage standpoint. Like, where does the other pieces start? How do those start to fall in line, whether it's the development or otherwise? Well, so once again, it's just the way things happen. I mean, I'd wanted to get into sales because that's why I originally was going to get my license. But I built such good relationships with agents that would send me clients that it'd be weird to just jump on their side all of a sudden and compete with them.
Yeah.
Look, one thing that I didn't take for granted that, we were talking about earlier, like the early years, I kept my languages. Like, I'm fluent in Portuguese, English, and Spanish.
Wow.
And working where I was working here, over half of my clients were Spanish speaking, when I started early in my mortgage career. And so it's interesting because, there's certain things that, I kept in place that really helped me. But then as far as, taking the next step, well, I was pretty comfortable. I was doing pretty well. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the mortgage crisis came and our company folded.
Yeah.
And so they pretty much shut down. Some of us didn't get paid our last checks. And so me and I had like a protege or like a partner that
Yeah.
had come in out of college and worked with me, and he became like my right hand. Him and I moved to another company, and
Mm.
we're still really good friends. He's really, if I think of him as a brother, but yeah, but Victor, and I have a brother named Victor as well, which is ironic. Two Victors in my life, but anyway, we moved to another company that was still in business, and then at that point, I decided that was a good time to transition over to sales because
Mm.
the market had tightened up. 2008, the crash, a lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
had slowed down. It gave me a chance to finally switch teams, and so that's when I crossed over, into
Yeah. What
sales.
was that like? That whole, because first off, for 2008, I mean, everything was going crazy. Like all the markets were not making sense, and it was pretty much doomsday for real estate and a lot of the world for many many markets. So, how'd you work through that portion of it to then get to where you're at now?
Well, I think that was the first. I think it was the first time in my life that I realized just how resilient I am and how adaptable I am. Like
Hmm.
when you have the will to be successful and you have the drive,
Yeah.
you adapt. And I had learned a little bit about adapting with how we would follow the market with the mortgage company I was with.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, when rates, were low, we do a lot of refinances.
Mm-hmm.
When rates were not great and people needed to consolidate debt, we would do debt consolidation seconds. I did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of VA streamlines when the rates were down for veterans. Like we used to have to kind of follow, what the market
Yeah.
was doing. And so, when I crossed over into sales and the market was different, I walked into short sales and REOs.
Hmm.
REOs are, bank owned properties, and short sales is when you negotiate with the bank because the debt was higher than the value.
Yeah.
Well, coming from mortgage and being really good with numbers and understanding the whole back end, I was able to, you know, get out to kind of a head start on how to manage
Mm.
that kind of business. So for the short sales, working with lenders to negotiate, the short sales, because I understood lending and title companies and everything else, that
Yeah.
was fairly easy. And then what was really great too on bank owned properties was, hey, construction background and
Mm-hmm.
really good with people. Okay, here's this property. Go see if anybody's there. Someone's there,
Mm-hmm.
kick them out. You have to get them out because the bank owns the property now. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
the property's trash. It needs work, needs to be cleaned up. Oh, construction background, perfect. Bring in all the subcontractors, clean it up, get it in good shape for the bank, and then
Mm.
take it to market and sell it for the bank. I instantly just found my path where, hey, these short sales, no problem. I did mortgage. I understand how this works. Bank owned stuff. Hey, no problem. I can service all of it because I can deal with the lending part. I
Yeah.
can deal with the sales part. I can deal with the construction part. And so that's how the journey launched as far as really just,
Mhm.
2008. Was it a tough year? Hell yeah, it was tough for everybody. I'm
Oh,
not saying
yeah.
it was easy, but a lot of people left the business that year.
Mm.
I said, no, you know what? We're going to suck it up. We're going to adapt. We're going to keep
Yeah.
going. We're going to keep grinding.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that your career has proven that, that word adaptability, being flexible, like looking for the opportunity, especially in something as flexible as real estate. Like there's always different opportunities, always different ways to earn and add value. Really, what you found was you found a way to add value to the marketplace, and you were rewarded, right?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think bringing value is also a constant theme in my life. Like, being of service, right? Leading, it's like it's just natural to always, like, you're not a taker, you're a giver. And
Hmm.
so I found myself these short sales, I was really helping people. Even with the
For
bank
sure.
owned stuff, I would help those people. I mean, it was, they're getting kicked out of their house, but I was always very compassionate, would try to help them out.
Hmm.
I even wrote a couple of people checks out of my own account to help them
Yeah.
out just because it was brutal. Like I'll never forget. Like there was this family at Christmas time, like almost like the same time as we are now.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just the money the bank was offering to help him relocate. I mean, they had two little ones, and he had lost his job, and it was just a
Mm.
tough situation. And it's like I was like, look, that's all the bank will give you, but here I'm going to give you this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even make that much money. I mean, the place was probably worth 250,000. The bank would only give me 2%. So
Yeah. Yeah.
after the brokers takes their money and stuff, I wasn't making enough to give them $400 or $500. I
For
didn't have
sure.
it. But and I think that, so if you look back, I think it's the fact that, always leading with value,
Mm.
always, serving, always looking out for the best interest of the clients. I think
Yeah.
that, writing that line is what's always got me through.
Mm. So let's get into your business today. Like, what does your practice look like today?
Well, so it's interesting because, being an entrepreneur,
Oh yeah.
you're a sucker for a good pitch. And so I get easily distracted by, somewhat shiny objects at
Yeah.
times. So, look, the business came from when the market turned and we got away from the bank owned and short sales. I became a perfect candidate to do corporate relocations because I could manage everything, the
Yeah.
construction. We could fix up the properties. I could just manage everything. So I did a lot of corporate relocation
Mm.
right after that. And then, when the market got even more normal, then I started doing a lot of second homes here down in the Monterey Bay because I work between the Bay Area and here. And
Yeah.
so essentially, like I, became really solid with my real estate practice. I brought in a stager,
Mm.
started staging all my listings. That's something I've done now for 12, 13 years. It's part of my
Mm.
package. And
Yeah.
so consider myself full service. I help sellers. I help buyers and sellers, but you'll find that I'll be heavy on the seller side because of what I can do.
Mm.
Um, what's happened though at times is, I got sucked into having a bunch of Airbnbs. And so I went through the Airbnb thing where made a lot of money during COVID, but then
Yeah.
we tightened up a little bit. The regulations are always changing, but it became a distraction. Even though I had people working on that, it was a distraction.
Mm.
Um, had someone convince me to open up a couple of retail stores with
Mm.
gifts and stuff, home stuff. And, that really cost me a lot of money and time. And so I mean, as much as I've had a lot of success, I've also had failure, right? Like I've gotten involved in things that haven't been successful. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm never going to sit here and tell anybody that's been perfect or that it's always
Mhm.
been great. Like I'm always realistic and very transparent. And so, I'm really good at real estate. Like I've always been at the
Mhm.
top. Like I've always been in fact, this year coming back from this 2-year cancer journey, I made it to number 10 in the country in June in production.
Wow. Are
And I
you
mean,
kidding me?
70
Congratulations. I had
things.
no idea. I know that
Well,
you'd come back and you've been, come on, man. That's insane. Congrats. That's
things.
amazing.
Well, I mean, the reason I share that is that for me is a big like emotional victory coming back from all the adversity. But it's like,
Yeah.
72,000 agents in the company here in the US. And we compete with big cities like Miami, Chicago, New York,
Man, you're a beast, Shane.
Portland, or LA. But no, I'm just saying, like, I mean, look, I want you to understand that, like, if I can apply
Mhm.
myself to this business, it doesn't matter if I'm in an area that the prices are not as high or there's not as many.
Mm.
It just
And you proved that going back to the mattress store. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if you ever made that connection, but you proved that going back to the mattress store, man. You didn't even have an employee.
But the thing, I guess the reason I want to share that though is because like I having that talent, but then allowing myself to be distracted
Mm.
has really hurt my consistency over the years, right? Like
Mm.
I should also be, I feel like I should be in a much better place as far as like, look, I don't think I'm necessarily the type that's going to completely retire or whatever, but
Sure.
I just like, and I know you can't have regrets because everything kind of gets you to where you're at, but I am trying to do a better job of not letting myself get
Yeah.
distracted, so
You're
where I'm
you're
at.
in good company, man. You're in good company. All us entrepreneurs watching this, we feel your pain and we're like, ah.
Well, you just want to keep, oh, that's great, or you get excited about other people's ideas, right? And so, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So look, what I've narrowed it down to is I'm an associate broker with EXP. I have my own branch here. I have
Yeah.
about 40, 50 agents under me around the country, different places. I'd like to continue to grow my agent base. The last couple of years, I didn't really put too much focus on that, but
Mm.
I really do. I'm still selling real estate. I've really ramped up again this year, and I want to continue to do it as my primary. I did
Mhm.
activate my contractor's license a couple of years ago because I do have a crew that works on our listings, but then there was such a demand for more construction and my
Mhm.
contractors are pretty booked out.
Yeah.
And so I started having to do a lot of the work on our listings and some of our clients that buy properties. So I have the construction, the real estate, and then I've always like loved flipping properties.
Yeah.
And so right now we're working on a couple of flips. And so I'm really trying to keep it down to just that. But now that I got rid of all the other distractions the last couple of years, I found that now that I just have now this is kind of blowing up and this has become a little too much. And so, what am I doing now? I mean, yeah, I mean, things are great. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
definitely, going in the right direction,
Yep.
but I'm finding myself, like, look, I'm not like the guy that sells the whole proverbial life balance or whatever. Like, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily, your entrepreneurs, that's not really in your vocabulary. I mean, people could say that all they want, but I do think it's important to, it's changed from when you're 21, you want to make 100K. I'll work 20 hours a day. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed to like, hey, I want to get in my workouts in the morning. I want to
Mhm.
have a productive day. I want to
That's
maybe
smart, man. And
unwind
health,
in the
health,
evening.
right?
Oh, totally. Unwind in the evening and like really want to, because I gave up. I mean, I got really heavy early in my mortgage career because I
Mm.
gave up all the exercise, all the sports. All I did was work, eat, and drink day and night, and
Yeah.
it created some health issues. And so I think that when I think about what balance is, it's not the proverbial balance that people talk about. It's more just let me get into key things. And one of my
I
buddies,
feel like it's the bare minimums.
yeah,
That's my words, not
right,
yours, but it's the bare minimums or the non-negotiables, like
non-negotiables, exactly,
your workout,
exactly.
your non-negotiable, whatever your boundary or standard is, you know?
Yeah, my buddy Casey, who's a coach, him and I have both been really successful in real estate, but he's been
Mhm.
doing coaching and used to be a trainer too for, like a sports trainer, like at a gym and stuff. And so it's like I reached out to him last year. I was like, hey man, I really want to level up my fitness. And he set me up
Yeah.
on this app he has and stuff. And and he's the one that he's reminding me, he's like, come on, bro. He's like, you know what you need to do. But I mean, like because I always put everybody first,
Yep.
like I won't make time for myself. And he just reminded me, he's like, hey, he's like, look, there's these non-negotiables that they just have to
Mm.
happen every day. So like, look, I mean, where I'm at now is I'm trying to trim out anything else that is just taking up too much time. I'm
Yeah.
trying to stay laser focused on the real estate, building the passive income and the
Mm.
supporting construction. And I think that on the flips, I'm going to ease up and just do the more cosmetic, basic ones. I got myself into a pretty big one that, I mean, I'm
Mm.
very capable, but
Yeah.
it's very time consuming and it
Yep.
takes time. It takes a lot of money too. And so I think that, where I'm at, where I'm headed is I'd like to be more high level speaking,
Mm.
traveling more, helping other agents become successful,
Yeah.
growing my organization, yeah, just doing more things on the high level, like sharing my journey, sharing what's worked for me, trying to
Mhm.
help other people find success. And
Mm. And speaking of that, you have a I see that live on air behind you that and to the top producing zone podcast and your show that you do with Michael. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
so I met Michael through real estate. He was introduced to me. He joined my real estate organization, a few years ago. He is someone that, because there's people that get their license that have a primary job, and so he's got a great corporate job that he loves and he does really well, and so he was doing real estate on the side, and he's really intrigued by real estate, and he was intrigued in real estate by his own home buying journey and how he thought he could do a better job, and so he got his license, and
Mm.
he's sharp, and he also liked the idea of growing the organization, and so he basically, was like, hey, we had talked about maybe starting a podcast because that's one of the platforms that's not utilized like everything else, right? Everybody's on YouTube and everywhere else, but it's like there's not really
Mhm.
a lot of podcasts. We thought, what's something we could do to, share our experience? Like he's got a lot of experience from the corporate side. I got a lot of experience on the real estate side. And then, just in general, being productive. And, it's like we wanted to create a podcast that could help other entrepreneurs as well as agents that are trying to level up or even new agents. Like we wanted to try and give back, and so we launched this thing in March of 2023, like what, a little over a year and a half ago. We released about one episode a week, and essentially that's our focus. And we've been pretty consistent. We'll bring on guests from different walks of life, not just real estate. And I mean, the key thing with us at the end is, our kind of our token question to the guest is, if you were going to start a business in real estate today, like what would you do? And so
Mm.
essentially we correlate, all entrepreneurial experience, we have them make a correlation to real estate, right? So we'll bring in entrepreneurs from all walks of life, and because it's all about being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, most of our guests are entrepreneurs or they're higher level, like even within our company of EXP, they might be
Mm.
VPs or people, I mean, a lot of people that are very driven that have been, entrepreneurs or people that, big thinkers, right? And so there's a lot of correlation, even if you're in different lines of work. Like, look, the mattress, like the whole mattress thing. I mean, it all
It's a
correlates,
great
right?
story, man. It's a great story.
It all correlates. So yeah, so the, Top Producing Zone podcast, I mean, we really enjoy our time, and our guests. And we also try to do some catch up episodes in between guests and just talk about stuff. We both have an affinity for the 49ers, even though they're not having a great year. But, different topics that we'll talk about. But yeah, no, I appreciate you asking about that. And yeah, looking forward to continuing and hopefully getting to a point where maybe get into some sponsorships or get into something
Yeah.
higher level,
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great story as well. And I'm excited to release this upcoming book with you. So for everybody watching, just so you know, we're not going to talk about the book too much today. We'll be bringing Shanne back on the show when the book is live. So don't worry about that. But we got a whole nother episode we'll be doing on that. But for today, Shanne, I just have to ask, I mean, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for your career? Going into 2025, we're recording this December 17th of 2024. What's next for 2025 for Shanne?
We really like my group agents that I've brought in into my organization. But there's a couple, especially one out of San Diego. We really want to grow our organization, and the agents I have in LA and San Diego are the ones that are really hot right now and pushing for growth. And so you see this wolf back here. This is on the side. It's the logo for the wolf pack. It's the group within EXP that I joined. I joined, Mike Sherrard 4 years ago, and him and Connor, it's an organization of about 3,500 agents.
Yeah.
And they've, a lot of my colleagues that came in, I was one of the first ones to come in, one of the leaders of the pack. And we've all kind of created our organizations within the wolf pack. And so I have a platform that's the West Coast, and the goal is to build up the West Coast.
Ooh, I'm excited, man. You're getting more.
Up.
Yeah, you're getting more and more dialed in, man. I'm excited for this next chapter.
Yeah, we want to grow, and then just in production, I want to continue. I enjoy production, enjoy helping clients. I want to continue to produce, and look, my goal before I hang up the gloves on sales at some point is, like I said, I probably won't officially retire, but I'd like to do 100 million in sales here in my market. Myself.
Yeah,
that's my goal, and I don't think I'll quit till I get there. I think it's
great.
very possible.
That's a great number, man. If somebody's listening to this or watching this and they want to follow up, how do they do that?
I am pretty easy to reach. I mean, obviously you can share my mobile phone if you'd like, but like on Instagram, the Shanne Carvalho, RE team. Might have to put that in the notes because it's hard to spell. But yeah, I do talk to people a lot on Instagram. I'm always happy to jump on a phone or text, whatever. Yep. But the platform I probably utilize the most for communicating with people is Instagram. We have a lot of agents around the country, and even we're in 26 countries now, so I use that. And we also have groups on WhatsApp, because you have people in other countries. And so I think WhatsApp and IG and my mobile is probably the best way.
Perfect. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put Shanne, the link so you can connect with Shanne in the show notes. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new guests, new content, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Shanne, man, I'm looking forward to having you back. That book's coming out soon, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for, doing that with me. I mean, that was, if it wasn't for you guys, I probably wouldn't have finally started on that journey. It's been a dream for a long time, but you guys made it happen. You're like, come on, let's just do it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, game on, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you guys.